She had $1 for her birthday cake. The baker mocked her. Then a Mafia boss walked in, bought the entire bakery's worth of cakes, and shared them with her. He was the most dangerous man in the city. But when she smiled at him, he felt human for the first time in years. The coin felt heavier than it should. Arya stared at the single dollar in her palm, sitting in her wheelchair outside Romano's bakery. Through the foggy window, she could see towers of cakes, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, each one probably costing more than she made in a week at the cafe. 25 years old today. And this was all she had. The wheelchair creaked as she pushed through the door. A small bell chimed. Inside, the smell of fresh bread made her stomach ache. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. "We're closing soon," the baker said without looking up. He was wiping down the counter, a thick man with flour stains on his apron. "I know. Arya's voice caught. "It's my birthday. I have $1. Can I buy a slice? Just a small piece." Now he looked up. His eyes traveled from her face down to the wheelchair, then to the crumpled bill in her hand. His lip curled. $1? He laughed, sharp and mean. "Lady, that won't even buy you a cupcake. This ain't a charity." Heat rushed to Arya's cheeks. "I understand. I just thought." "You thought wrong," he turned his back to her. "There's a convenience store 2 blocks down. Try there." The other customers, a couple near the window, an old woman by the bread shelf, all stared. Arya felt their eyes like needles. She wanted to disappear, to wheel herself out and pretend this never happened. But something kept her frozen. Maybe it was the unfairness of it. Maybe it was 25 years of swallowing shame finally reaching its limit. She opened her mouth, though she didn't know what words would come out. The door opened behind her. The bell didn't chime this time. It was as if even the bell was afraid to make noise. Arya felt the change immediately. The air itself seemed to shift. The couple by the window went rigid. The old woman's hand trembled on her shopping bag. Even the baker's shoulders tensed, his wiping slowing to a stop. She turned her wheelchair slightly. A man stood in the doorway. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, wearing a black suit that looked expensive even to Arya's untrained eye. Dark hair swept back from a sharp, angular face. But it wasn't his appearance that made the room hold its breath. It was the way he looked at everyone, like he was counting how many seconds it would take to end them. 2 men in similar suits flanked him, hands clasped in front of them, faces blank. "Dante," the baker whispered. The color drained from his face. The man, Dante, didn't acknowledge him. His dark eyes swept the bakery, landing briefly on each person before moving to the next. When his gaze reached Arya, it stopped. For 3 long seconds he studied her. The wheelchair, the dollars still clutched in her hand, the tears she was desperately trying to blink back. Then he looked at the baker. "I heard you laughing," Dante said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a blade. "What's funny?" The baker's mouth opened and closed. Nothing, Mr. Rossi. Just a misunderstanding." She asked for cake, it wasn't a question. "Yes, but she only has." "How much for everything?" The baker blinked. "Everything." "Every cake in this bakery." Dante pulled out his wallet, leather and thick with bills. "Name your price." "Mr. Rossi, that's at least $800 worth of." Dante placed a stack of bills on the counter. Arya couldn't see how much, but the baker's eyes went wide. "Consider it bought. Now get out." "What?" "You. Out." This is her bakery for the next hour. Dante's expression didn't change, but something in his tone made the baker grab his coat with shaking hands. The other customers didn't need to be told twice. They rushed for the door, the couple practically tripping over themselves. Within 30 seconds, the bakery was empty except for Arya, Dante, and his 2 men. Dante gestured to his men. "Outside." They left without a word, taking positions on either side of the door like statues.
Now it was just the 2 of them.
Arya's heart hammered. She'd heard stories about men like this, Men whose names people whispered, whose presence meant violence was never far away. The Rossi family controlled half the city's underworld. Everyone knew it. Everyone feared it. And she was alone with their boss. "You like chocolate?" Dante asked, walking to the display case. What? Chocolate cake. You like it?" He opened the case, pulling out a large chocolate cake with dark frosting. "This one looks good." He carried it to a small table near the window, then grabbed 2 plates and forks. He sat down, his movements precise and controlled, and gestured to the chair across from him.
No.
The space across from him. For her wheelchair. "I don't understand," Arya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's your birthday." Dante cut 2 large slices, sliding one toward the empty space. "Nobody should spend their birthday alone. Or crying." "You don't know me." "No," he met her eyes. "But I know what it's like when people look at you and only see what you can't give them." Something in his voice, a crack in that controlled exterior, made Arya will forward. Against every logical thought in her head, she moved to the table. Up close, she could see details. A thin scar along his jawline. Dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. Hands that looked strong enough to break bones, but held the fork with surprising gentleness. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Dante took a bite of cake, considering. "Maybe I'm tired of taking things. Thought I'd give something for once." "You don't seem like the giving type." The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. "Smart girl. What's your name?"
Arya.
"Arya," he repeated it like he was testing how it felt. "I'm Dante." "I know who you are." "Then you know you should probably run." "Can't run." She gestured to her wheelchair. "In case you haven't noticed." This time he did smile, just barely. "Fair point." They ate in silence for a moment. The cake was rich and sweet, probably the best thing Arya had tasted in months. Outside, she could see Dante's men standing guard and pedestrians crossing the street to avoid walking past them. This was insane. She was eating cake with a Mafia boss. "Why did you really do this?" Arya asked quietly. "People like you don't just." "People like me?" Dante set down his fork. "What are people like me?" "Dangerous. Powerful. You could have anything you want." "Could I?" His dark eyes held hers. "I have money. I have fear. I have people who jump when I walk in a room. You know what I don't have." Arya waited. One honest conversation. One moment where someone isn't terrified or trying to use me. He leaned back. "You looked at me like I was just a man. Not a monster. Not an opportunity. Just a man." Arya's chest tightened. She should leave. She should will out of here and never look back. But something in his eyes, something lonely and raw, kept her in that chair. "Happy birthday, Arya," Dante said softly. And for the first time in years, she smiled on her birthday and meant it. The first drops hit the window as they finished the last bites of cake. Arya looked outside, and her heart sank. Dark clouds had rolled in fast, and rain was already starting to pour. Her apartment was 6 blocks away, manageable on a clear day, nearly impossible in a storm. "Problem?" Dante asked, following her gaze. "I need to get home before it gets worse. My wheelchair doesn't handle wet streets well." She tried to sound casual, but worry crept into her voice. Dante stood, pulling out his phone. "My driver can." "No." The word came out sharper than she intended. "I mean, thank you, but I can't be seen getting into a car with you. People talk." His jaw tightened slightly. "And that matters? To someone like me?" "Yes." Arya wheeled toward the door. "I appreciated this. Really. But your world and mine, they don't mix." She pushed outside before he could respond. The rain was already heavy, cold drops soaking through her thin jacket within seconds. Her hands slipped on the wet wheels as she tried to gain momentum. Half a block. That's as far as she got. The wheelchair's front wheel caught in a pothole flooded with water. She jerked forward, nearly falling, catching herself on the armrests. Rain streamed down her face. Her arms burned from the effort. "Damn it," she whispered, trying again. The wheel wouldn't budge. A shadow fell over her. Dante stood there, already soaked, his expensive suit clinging to his frame. He dismissed his men somehow. They were nowhere in sight. "What are you doing?" Arya asked. "Something stupid, probably." Before she could protest, he bent down and lifted her. One arm under her knees, one behind her back. The movement was so smooth, so effortless, that Arya gasped. "Put me down." 6 blocks, you said? He started walking, carrying her like she weighed nothing. "Which direction?" "I'm serious." "So am I." His voice was firm but not angry. "I'm not watching you drown in a pothole. Tell me where you live, Arya." She could have fought. Should have. But his arms were warm despite the rain, and she was so tired of fighting everything alone. "East," she finally said. "The old Monroe building." He nodded and kept walking. His men appeared from somewhere. One of them folding up her wheelchair, another bringing a car around. They loaded the wheelchair into the trunk without a word. "Your apartment is 6 blocks. My car is right there." Dante looked down at her. "But I'm guessing you don't want to arrive in a black Mercedes." Despite everything, Arya almost laughed. That would cause talk until next year. "Then we walk." He waved his men off. The car disappeared around the corner. They walked in silence for the first block. Rain pounded the pavement. Arya was hyper-aware of everything, his steady heartbeat against her ear, the way his grip never faltered, how he adjusted his hold every few steps to keep her comfortable. "You're going to get sick," she said quietly. "I've survived worse than rain." "Why are you doing this?" "You asked me that already, and you didn't really answer." Dante was quiet for a long moment, navigating around a deep puddle. "You know what I did before I came to that bakery?" Arya shook her head. "I ordered a man's execution. He stole from my family, not money, but something worse. Loyalty." His voice was flat, matter of fact. "I watched him beg. I watched him cry. And I felt nothing." Arya's breath caught. "Then I walked into that bakery," he continued, "and saw you holding that dollar like it was treasure. Asking for just a slice. Not demanding, not stealing. Just hoping." He looked down at her. "And I felt something. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something." "What did you feel?" "Shame." The word came out rough. "That the world I created has people like that baker. People who mock someone for having nothing." "You can't save everyone," Arya said softly. "I'm not trying to save everyone." His eyes met hers, intense and dark. "Maybe just one person. Maybe just today." They turned onto her street. The Monroe building loomed ahead. Old brick, chipped paint, windows patched with tape. Arya felt embarrassed suddenly, comparing it to wherever someone like Dante lived.
"4th floor," she said.
"There's an elevator. Usually works." He carried her through the lobby, thankfully empty, and into the creaking elevator. Neither spoke as it lurched upward. The fluorescent light flickered. At her door, Arya dug keys from her pocket with shaking hands. Dante waited patiently, water dripping from his hair, his suit probably ruined. "I can manage from here," she said as he set her down gently inside her doorway. Her apartment was tiny, a studio with a kitchenette, a bed in the corner, baking books stacked on every surface. Through the window, the rain continued its assault. Dante stood in the doorway, not entering. "Your dream, running a bakery. You're serious about that? Why?" "Because people in my world don't have dreams. They have ambitions, schemes, survival plans. But dreams?"
He shook his head.
"That's something different. What's your dream?" Arya asked before she could stop herself. For a moment, something vulnerable crossed his face. "To wake up and not wonder which of my men will betray me that day. To have one conversation that isn't a negotiation." He paused. "To be looked at the way you looked at me in that bakery. Like I was worth something beyond fear." Arya's throat tightened. "You are worth something." "Am I?" He turned to leave, then stopped. "I won't bother you again. but if you ever need anything. Wait.
She didn't know why she said it.
Didn't know what she wanted him to wait for. Dante looked back, rain-soaked and dangerous, and somehow heartbreakingly alone. Thank you, Arya whispered. For the cake.
For
Seeing me. Something shifted in his expression. Happy birthday, Arya. Then he was gone, his footsteps echoing in the hallway. Arya sat in her doorway, soaking wet and confused, her heart beating faster than it should. She'd just had her birthday cake with a killer. And the worst part, she wanted to see him again. Arya didn't see Dante for 3 days. She told herself it was relief. He'd kept his word about not bothering her. That was good. Smart. Safe. So why did she keep looking at the cafe door every time the bell chimed? Table 4 needs a refill, Maria called from behind the counter. Arya grabbed the coffee pot and wheeled over. The morning rush had ended, leaving only a handful of customers. Old Mr. Urchin reading his newspaper, 2 college students with laptops, and
the bell chimed.
Arya's hand froze on the coffee pot. Dante walked in, looking somehow both out of place and completely in control. No bodyguards this time. Just him in dark jeans and a simple black shirt, like he was trying to blend in. It didn't work. Power radiated off him regardless. His eyes found hers immediately. Is this seat taken? He gestured to an empty table by the window, the worst table in the cafe, cramped and wobbly. Arya's heart hammered. It's a free country, is it? A slight smile touched his lips as he sat down. Could have fooled me. She wheeled over, professional mask firmly in place. What can I get you? Coffee. Black. And whatever you recommend for breakfast. The blueberry muffins are fresh. Then he leaned back, studying her. You look tired.
Wow.
That's what every woman wants to hear. I meant you look like you haven't been sleeping. Because I keep thinking about you, Arya wanted to say. Instead, we're short-staffed. I've been pulling doubles. You should rest. I should pay rent, she turned to go. Arya, his voice stopped her. Softer now. Will you sit with me? Just for a minute. I'm working. Please. That one word, coming from a man who probably never said it, made her hesitate. She glanced at Maria, who waved her off with a knowing smile. Arya sighed and wheeled back to his table. 5 minutes. I'll take it. Dante waited until she was settled. How's your birthday cake? Gone in 2 days. My neighbor Mrs. Chen ate half of it. The one who can't afford groceries?
Arya blinked.
How did you? I pay attention, he said it simply, like it was obvious. You shared your birthday cake with someone hungrier than you. That's who you are. Heat crept up her neck. It's not that special. It is to me. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the city moved, cars honking, people rushing past. Inside this small cafe, time felt suspended. Why are you really here? Arya asked quietly. Dante's fingers traced the rim of his coffee cup. Honestly? I don't know. I woke up this morning, had 6 meetings scheduled, 3 territory disputes to handle. And all I could think about was whether you made it to work okay, in that wheelchair. I've been getting to work fine for 5 years. I know. Doesn't stop me from wondering. Arya's chest tightened. You said you wouldn't bother me. I lied, he met her eyes. Turns out I'm selfish that way. You're dangerous. Yes. People around you get hurt. Yes. Then why? Because for 1 hour in that bakery, I wasn't a monster. I was just a man sharing cake with someone who made me laugh. His voice dropped. I want more hours like that, even if I don't deserve them. Arya's hands trembled in her lap. I can't be part of your world. I'm not asking you to be. Then what are you asking? Dante leaned forward. Tell me about the accident. The question hit like a punch. What? Your wheelchair. Something happened. Tell me. Why would I tell you that? Because I told you I ordered a man's death 3 days ago, and you didn't flinch. Because you're the first person in years who sees past what I do to who I might be. His eyes held hers, intense and vulnerable. Because maybe talking about the worst thing that happened to us makes it less heavy. Arya swallowed hard. Nobody asked about the accident. People avoided it, talked around it, looked away from her chair like acknowledging it was rude. But Dante was asking. Really asking. Car crash, she said finally. 3 years ago. Drunk driver ran a red light. My mom was driving. She died on impact. I survived, but my spine. She gestured to her legs. Doctors said I was lucky. That's a cruel word for it. That's what I thought, Aria's voice cracked. I lost my mother and my legs in one night. And people kept saying I was lucky to be alive. Dante reached across the table. His hand covered hers. Warm, solid, grounding. Your mother would be proud of you. You didn't know her. I know you shared your birthday cake with a hungry neighbor. I know you worked double shifts to pay rent. I know you still dream about opening a bakery, even though life tried to break you. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. That kind of strength comes from somewhere. Someone taught you that. Tears burned behind Aria's eyes. She pulled her hand back, swiping at her face. This is insane. You're a criminal.
Killer. Monster.
I know, Dante's voice was steady. But I'm also a man who hasn't felt this human in years. You do that. You make me remember there's more to life than blood and power. I can't save you from yourself. I'm not asking you to save me. He stood up, dropping cash on the table. Way too much for coffee and a muffin. I'm asking if maybe we can be honest with each other. No games. No expectations. Just two people who understand what it's like to survive things that should have destroyed them. Aria looked up at him, this dangerous man with sad eyes and careful hands. Every logical part of her brain screamed to push him away. But her heart whispered something different. Tomorrow, she heard herself say.
Same time.
But you're ordering the cinnamon roll. The muffins are actually terrible. Dante's smile was real this time, reaching his eyes. Tomorrow then. He walked to the door, then paused.
Aria?
Your mother was right to be proud. I can tell. Then he was gone. Maria appeared at her elbow immediately. Girl, who is that? Aria stared at the door, her hand still tingling where he'd touched it. Someone I should stay away from. But you won't.
No, Aria whispered.
I don't think I will. And that terrified her more than anything. They met at the cafe every morning for a week. Dante ordered cinnamon rolls. They talked about everything and nothing, her favorite recipes, his childhood before the violence, the books she loved, the music he never had time for. Small pieces of normal life they both craved. Aria knew people were noticing. Maria teased her. Mr. Chin winked knowingly. But in those morning conversations, she could almost forget who Dante really was. Until the night everything shattered. Aria's shift ended at 8. The sun had already set, leaving the streets dimly lit and mostly empty. She usually took the main road home, but construction had blocked it off. The detour meant cutting through an alley behind the old textile factory. She hesitated at the alley entrance.
Dark. Narrow.
Her instincts screamed wrong. But it would save 15 minutes, and her arms ached from a long shift. Just get home, she muttered, wheeling forward. She made it halfway through before she heard the footsteps. 2 men emerged from the shadows ahead, blocking her path. Both wore dark clothes, faces hard and cold. One had a snake tattoo crawling up his neck. Aria's blood turned to ice. Well, well, Snake Tattoo said, smiling without warmth. You're the girl, aren't you? The one Dante Rossi's been playing house with. She tried to turn her wheelchair around, but the second man, bulkier, with a scar across his cheek, stepped behind her, blocking her exit. We're not here to hurt you, Scarface said. Just want to send a message to your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Aria's voice shook. I barely know him. That's not what we heard. Snake Tattoo crouched down to her eye level. Word is, the big bad Rossi's gone soft. Spending his mornings drinking coffee with a cripple like he's some kind of regular guy. The slur stung, but fear overpowered everything else. The Corsini family runs the east side now, he continued. And we don't appreciate Rossi sniffing around our territory. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell him to back off, or next time. Next time what? Arya's breath caught. That voice, cold, lethal, nothing like the gentle tone Dante used with her. He stood at the alley entrance, silhouetted against the streetlight. But there was something different about him now. The careful control was gone, replaced by something raw and terrifying. Rossi, snake tattoo straightened, trying for confident. This doesn't concern you. Just having a friendly chat with. You put your hands on her? No, we were just. Answer the question. Dante's voice could have cut glass. Did you?
Touch.
Her.
No.
We just wanted to. Dante moved. 1 second, he was 10 feet away. The next, his fist connected with Snake Tattoo's jaw with a sickening crack. The man went down hard, blood spraying. Scarface lunged, pulling a knife.
Arya screamed.
Dante caught the man's wrist, twisted with brutal efficiency. The knife clattered to the ground. Then Dante's elbow slammed into his face. Once, twice, 3 times. Bone crunched. Dante, stop. Arya cried out. He didn't stop. He drove Scarface against the brick wall, his forearm pressed against the man's throat. Blood poured from the man's broken nose, but Dante's expression remained eerily calm. You know who I am? Dante asked quietly. Scarface gurgled something that might have been yes. Then you know what I do to people who threaten what's mine, he pressed harder. She is untouchable. You spread that word. Anyone, and I mean anyone, who looks at her wrong, who follows her, who even thinks about using her to get to me, I will personally end them. Slowly. Snake Tattoo was crawling away, groaning. Dante released Scarface, who collapsed gasping. Run, Dante said. And pray I never see you again. They ran, stumbling over each other in their panic. Silence fell over the alley. Dante stood there, chest heaving, blood splattered across his knuckles and shirt. When he turned to Arya, his eyes were still dark with rage. She flinched. She couldn't help it. This was the man she'd heard stories about, the one who ruled through fear, who solved problems with violence. Not the gentle person who shared cake and asked about her dreams. Something broke in Dante's expression when he saw her recoil.
Arya.
Don't, she wheeled backward, hands trembling on the wheels. Just don't. They were going to hurt you. I know, tears burned her eyes. But seeing you like that, covered in blood, looking like you could kill them without blinking. I could have, his voice was raw. If they'd touched you, I would have. That's what scares me. The words exploded out of her. You're not just dangerous, Dante. You're death waiting to happen. And everyone around you pays the price. I was protecting you. By putting a target on my back? Arya's voice cracked. They came after me because of you. Because someone saw us having coffee, and decided I was leverage. This is your world, violence and blood, and people getting hurt just for standing too close to you. Dante took a step toward her. She wheeled back. Don't come near me. Please. He froze, pain flashing across his face. Arya, I never meant. I know. But it doesn't matter what you meant, she swiped at her tears. I can't do this. I can't watch you hurt people, can't be the reason people come after me, can't fall for someone who lives like this. Fall for me. His voice was barely a whisper. Arya's breath hitched. She'd said too much. I have to go, she turned her wheelchair toward the street. Let me take you home. It's not safe. I'll manage, she wouldn't look at him.
Couldn't.
Goodbye, Dante. She wheeled away as fast as her aching arms would allow, leaving him standing in that alley, covered in blood and looking more broken than the men he'd beaten. Behind her, she heard him say her name one more time. She didn't turn around. But 3 blocks later, when she was sure he couldn't see, she stopped and let herself cry for him, for them, for what could never be. Arya didn't go to work the next day. Or the day after that. She called in sick, which wasn't entirely a lie. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dante's fist connecting with flesh, heard the crack of bone, saw that cold rage in his eyes. But worse, she saw the pain on his face when she'd flinched away from him. On the 3rd morning, someone knocked on her door. Arya's heart jumped. She wheeled over cautiously, peering through the peephole. Empty hallway. She opened the door and found a small bakery box on her doormat. Inside were 3 perfect cinnamon rolls, still warm, with a note in clean handwriting. These are better than the cafes. Please eat.
D.
No pressure. No demands. Just food and concern. Arya closed the door and cried into the pastries. The flowers came next day. Not roses, too romantic, too presumptuous. Sunflowers, bright and hopeful, left outside her door with no note at all. Maria called that afternoon. Girl, you coming back? We miss you. Soon, Arya promised. Also, some guy paid your tab for the next 6 months. Wouldn't give his name, but he left enough to cover coffee and meals every day. Arya's throat tightened. Maria. I'm not asking questions. Just saying whoever he is, he cares. When Arya finally returned to work a week later, there were no mysterious visitors. Dante didn't come to the cafe. She told herself that was good. Safe. So why did she feel so empty? 2 weeks after the alley incident, Arya came home to find her landlord in the hallway. Miss Arya, I need to talk to you about rent. Her stomach dropped. She was 3 weeks behind, having missed shifts. Mr. Patterson, I can get you half by Friday. No, he looked uncomfortable. Someone paid it. All of it. 6 months in advance. The world tilted. What? Anonymous payment. Cashier's check, he handed her a receipt. I tried to refuse it. Seemed suspicious. But it cleared, and legally, you're paid up. Arya stared at the paper, her vision blurring. Said to tell you. One less thing to worry about. That night, Arya sat by her window, watching the city lights. Her phone sat in her lap, Dante's number, which he'd never actually given her, but which had appeared as a saved contact somehow, glowing on the screen. She typed and deleted 5 different messages. Finally, you can't just pay my rent. His response came immediately, like he'd been waiting. I can. I did. That's not how this works. How what works? We're not talking, remember? So, I'm not breaking any rules. Despite everything, she almost smiled.
Dante. Arya.
The cursor blinked. She didn't know what to say. His next message appeared. I'm not trying to buy you. Or control you. I know what I am. What I do. You were right to walk away. Then why are you doing this? Because you work double shifts to survive. Because you give away cake when you can barely afford it yourself. Because someone should make sure you're okay, even if that someone is a monster you're afraid of. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not afraid of you. You flinched. I was afraid of what you could do, not who you are. A long pause. Then, is there a difference? Arya stared at that question, her chest aching. I don't know anymore. You haven't been to the cafe in the mornings. You've been watching. My men have. From a distance. Making sure you're safe.
A pause.
I stayed away like you asked. She should be angry. He was having her followed. That was crossing a line. But all she felt was a confusing mix of frustration and something dangerously close to longing. I miss talking to you, she typed before she could stop herself. The response took longer this time. I miss everything about you. Arya's hands shook. This can't work. I know. You're dangerous. I know. People will keep coming after me because of you. No, they won't. She frowned. How can you be sure? Because I made it very clear what happens if they do. Word spreads fast in my world. You're protected, Arya. Whether you want to be, or not. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. Another pause. I should let you go. You deserve someone safe. Normal. Someone who doesn't have blood on his hands. Arya typed quickly. What if I don't want normal? She stared at the message, finger hovering over send. This was it, the moment she either admitted the truth or kept lying to herself. She hit send. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Don't say that unless you mean it. I'm terrified of meaning it.
Good. You should be.
Then, but if you do mean it. I'm at the pier. Warehouse 12.
Alone. If you want to talk.
Really talk. I'll be here until midnight. Arya looked at the clock. 10:47 p.m. This was insane. Going to a warehouse to meet a mafia boss in the middle of the night? Every horror movie started this way. But Dante had stayed away when she asked, had helped without demanding anything, had given her space while making sure she was safe. He wasn't trying to own her. He was trying to earn her. Arya grabbed her jacket. Mrs. Chin poked her head out as Arya wheeled past. Where are you going this late? To do something probably stupid, Arya said. The handsome one from the cafe? How did you? Mrs. Chin smiled knowingly. These old eyes still work. He looks at you like you're the only real thing in his world. He's dangerous. So is love. Dear, she patted Arya's shoulder. But some things are worth the risk. Arya took a deep breath and headed for the elevator. Warehouse 12. Midnight. Time to find out if Mrs. Chin was right. Arya never made it to Warehouse 12 that night. They talked until 3 a.m. instead, her at her window, him at the pier, phones pressed to their ears. No more walls. No more pretending. Just truth. By dawn, something had shifted between them. Not solved, but possible. Come to the spring festival with me tomorrow, Dante said, his voice rough with exhaustion. In public. Let me show you I can be normal. Or as close as I get. You're asking me on a date? I'm asking if you'll give me one chance to prove this could work. Arya's heart hammered. Okay. The spring festival transformed downtown into a carnival of lights, food stalls, and music. Arya had come with Maria and 2 other cafe co-workers, telling herself she was just meeting Dante there. Casual. Low pressure. He stood by the fountain at 7 p.m. sharp, wearing jeans and a simple jacket. No suit. No visible weapons. Almost ordinary, except for the way people unconsciously gave him space. You came, he said, and the relief in his voice was naked. I came. They walked, him beside her wheelchair, through the festival. He bought her roasted chestnuts, won her a stuffed bear at the ring toss, made her laugh with terrible jokes. For 2 hours, they were just 2 people on a date. Arya almost forgot who he was. Then she saw the men. 3 of them, moving through the crowd with purpose. One had a snake tattoo on his neck, the same man from the alley, his jaw still slightly swollen. Dante, she whispered. He'd already seen them. His body tensed, hand moving instinctively toward his jacket. We need to leave. Now, his voice was calm, but urgent. What's happening? Corsini's men. More than before, his eyes scanned the crowd. They're cornering us. Arya's blood went cold. Maria and her friends were 20 feet away at a food stall, laughing, completely unaware. Can we get to your car? Not without going through them, Dante's jaw tightened. Stay close to me. They moved toward the main exit, but 2 more men appeared, blocking the path. Then 2 more from another direction. 7 total. All armed, judging by the bulges under their jackets. Rossi, Snake Tattoo called out, his voice cutting through the festival noise. You didn't listen. People were starting to notice. The music seemed too loud suddenly, the lights too bright. This is a public place, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. Families. Children. You want to do this here? You should have thought about that before you broke Marco's nose. Snake Tattoo pulled out a gun. The girl comes with us. That's the deal. You back off our territory, we give her back. Over my dead body, Dante growled. That can be arranged. Everything happened at once. Snake Tattoo raised his gun. Dante lunged forward, putting himself between the weapon and Arya. The shot cracked through the air like thunder. Screaming erupted. People ran in all directions, a stampede of panic. Dante staggered back, red blooming across his shoulder.
No. Arya screamed.
More gunshots. Dante's men. She hadn't even seen them arrive. returned fire. The festival descended into chaos. Dante collapsed against a vendor stall, his face pale, blood soaking through his jacket. He tried to stand, failed. Go, he gasped at Arya. Get out of here. Not without you. Arya, I can't. I said no. She wheeled to his side, ignoring the bullets ricocheting off metal poles. Her hands found his face, forcing him to look at her. Stay with me. Do you hear me? Stay with me. His eyes were glazing.
2.
Dangerous. I don't care. Tears streamed down her face. She pressed her hands against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Her palms turned slick with red. You don't get to save me and then die. That's not how this works. More shots. One of Dante's men dragged a Corsini soldier to the ground. Another shielded them with his body, taking a bullet meant for his boss. Please, Arya whispered, cradling Dante's head. Please don't leave me. I just found you. His hand, trembling and weak, touched her cheek.
You
flinched. I was wrong. I was so wrong. She pressed her forehead to his. You're not a monster. You're the man who shared cake with me, who carried me through the rain, who paid my rent because you knew I was too stubborn to ask for help. Arya, his voice was fading. I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? I'm staying right here. A black SUV screeched to a halt beside them. 2 of Dante's men jumped out. Boss, we need to move. They tried to lift him. Dante's weight was dead weight, consciousness slipping. Take her first, he mumbled. No. Arya grabbed his hand, holding tight even as they lifted him. I'm coming with you. Miss, it's not safe. I don't care. He stays, I stay. One of the men, the one who'd been shot protecting them, looked at her with something like respect. Get them both in. Now. They loaded Dante into the SUV. Arya refused to let go of his hand, even as they collapsed her wheelchair and threw it in the trunk. She sat in the back, his head in her lap, her fingers pressed desperately against his wound. Stay awake, she pleaded. Talk to me. Tell me about that bakery you mentioned. The one you want to buy. His eyes fluttered. For you. Then you have to live to give it to me. Her tears fell on his face. Please, Dante. Don't you dare die on me. The SUV raced through red lights, sirens wailing in the distance. Dante's hand squeezed hers weakly. Brave, he whispered. So brave. I'm terrified. Me too, his eyes found hers, clear for just a moment. Of losing you. You won't. I promise. Just hold on. The city blurred past. Arya held him tighter, whispering promises and prayers. Her whole world narrowed to the man bleeding in her arms and the desperate hope that love could be stronger than bullets. The private clinic smelled of antiseptic and expensive leather. Arya sat in the waiting room, Dante's blood still on her hands, her shirt. A nurse had tried to get her to change. She'd refused. 3 hours of surgery. 3 hours of staring at white walls and fluorescent lights, replaying every moment. The gunshot. His body collapsing. The way his hand had gone limp in hers. When the doctor finally emerged, Arya's heart stopped. He's stable. The bullet missed major arteries. He was lucky. That word again. Lucky. Can I see him? The doctor hesitated. Are you family? Yes, the lie came easily. I'm all he has. Something in her face must have convinced him. Room 3. But he needs rest. Arya was already wheeling past him. Dante lay in the hospital bed, pale against white sheets, his shoulder bandaged. And 4 dripped steadily. His eyes were closed, dark lashes stark against his skin. Arya wheeled to his bedside, her hand finding his. His eyes opened slowly, focusing on her. You're still here. Where else would I be? Safe. Away from me. His voice was rough, drugged. That's what smart people do. Then I guess I'm an idiot, she squeezed his hand. How do you feel? Like I got shot, a weak smile. But alive. Because of you. You took that bullet for me. Would do it again, no hesitation. Every time. Arya's throat tightened. Don't say that. Why not? It's true, his thumb brushed across her knuckles. You stayed. Even when my men told you to run, you stayed. Of course I did. Why? His eyes searched hers, vulnerable and desperate. After everything. After you saw what I am, what my world does. Why would you stay? The question hung between them, heavy with everything unspoken. Arya took a shaky breath. Because when I thought you might die, I realized something. I've been so afraid of your world, of the violence, of losing myself. But the only thing that actually terrified me was losing you. Dante's grip tightened on her hand. I don't want safe, she continued, words tumbling out. I don't want some normal guy who doesn't understand what it's like to survive impossible things. I want the man who saw me with $1 and made me feel like a queen, who carried me through the rain, who respects my boundaries even when it hurts him. Arya. I want you, Dante. All of you. The good parts and the dangerous parts and the broken parts. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm done running from the only person who makes me feel alive. He stared at her, something breaking and healing simultaneously in his expression. I haven't felt human in years. Not until you. Every morning I'd wake up, and the first thing I'd think about was whether you were okay. If you'd eaten. If that wheelchair was holding up. If you'd smile at me one more time. I smiled every time, she whispered. I know. And it killed me that I couldn't give you the life you deserve, his voice cracked. You should have gardens and safety and peace. Not bullets and blood and men who want to hurt you because of me. What if that's not what I want? What if I just want you? Then you're as crazy as I am, he lifted his good hand to her face, wiping away tears. Because I'm completely in love with you, and it's the most terrifying thing I've ever felt. Arya's breath caught. You love me? Hopelessly. Probably from that first moment in the bakery when you asked for just a slice. His smile was sad and beautiful. I've done terrible things, Arya. I'll probably do more. I can't promise you safety or normalcy, or any of the things you deserve. What can you promise? That I'll protect you with everything I have. That I'll never lie to you. That every morning I wake up, you'll be the best part of my day, his eyes held hers. And that I'll love you until my last breath, whether that's tomorrow or 50 years from now. Arya leaned forward, cupping his face in her hands. That's enough. More than enough. You're sure? Because once we cross this line. She kissed him. Gentle at first, mindful of his injury. But Dante's hand tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and the kiss deepened. It tasted of tears and relief and promises neither of them could quite believe they were making. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I'm terrified, he admitted. Me too. What if I can't keep you safe? What if you can? She smiled through tears. What if we're stronger together than apart? What if love is worth the risk? Mrs. Chin tell you that? Arya laughed, the sound breaking the tension. How did you know? She cornered me last week. Told me if I hurt you, she'd poison my coffee. His smile was real now. I like her. She likes you too. Says you look at me like I'm the only real thing in your world. You are no hesitation. You're the only thing that makes sense anymore. Arya kissed him again, softer this time. When she pulled back, she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Hope. When I get out of here, Dante said quietly, I have something to show you. What? A surprise. Something I've been working on. His smile turned mysterious. Trust me? With my life. Don't say that. It scares me. Good. She settled into the chair beside his bed, their hands intertwined. Someone should scare the great Dante Rossi. You do. Every day, he closed his eyes, exhaustion finally winning. Stay. As long as you need me. Forever then. Arya watched him drift to sleep, his hand holding hers like a lifeline. Outside, the sun was rising over the city. A new day, a new beginning. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. And somehow, that made all the fear worthwhile. 3 weeks later, Dante picked Arya up in a car with no tinted windows and no armed guards. "Where are we going?" she asked as he helped her into the passenger seat, folding her wheelchair into the back. You'll see his shoulder was still healing, but the color had returned to his face. He looked lighter somehow, less burdened. They drove through familiar streets until he pulled up in front of Romano's bakery. Arya's breath caught. Dante, what? Come on, he got her wheelchair, helped her into it, and wheeled her to the front door. The bakery looked different. Fresh paint. New sign. Through the window, she could see updated equipment, pristine display cases, warm lighting that made everything glow. Dante pulled out a key ring and held it in front of her. "What is this?" Her voice shook. "Yours," he pressed the keys into her palm. "The building, the equipment, everything. It's in your name." "I don't understand." "You said you wanted to run your own bakery," he gestured to the door. "So run it." Tears blurred her vision. "Dante, I can't accept this. It's too much." "It's not nearly enough," he crouched down to her eye level. "Remember that first day? You asked for just a slice with $1. You weren't asking for charity or handouts. You were asking for dignity. A small piece of something beautiful." She nodded, unable to speak. "This is my way of saying you deserve the whole cake, Arya. You deserve every dream you've ever had." His hand covered hers on the keys. "This isn't me trying to buy you or control you. This is me believing in you the way you believed in me when no one else did." "But the cost." "I sold 3 properties. Legitimate ones," he smiled slightly. "I'm trying to go straight. Well, straighter. It's slow, but I'm working on it." Arya stared at him. "What?" "You made me want to be better. To build things instead of destroying them." He stood, opening the bakery door. "I'm getting out, Arya. It'll take time. You don't just leave my world overnight. But I'm making moves. Transferring businesses. Stepping back from the violence. Because of me. Because of us." He wheeled her inside. The bakery smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Sunlight streamed through clean windows. The ovens were top of the line. There was even a ramp leading to the kitchen, built specifically for her wheelchair. Arya touched the counter, the display case, unable to believe it was real. "The baker, Romano, he doesn't work here anymore, does he?" she asked quietly. "He took a generous retirement package." Dante's voice was carefully neutral. "Far away from here." She didn't ask what generous meant in his world. Some things were better left unknown. "There's something else." Dante handed her a folder. "I've hired 3 bakers who'll work under you. All trained, all vetted. You won't have to do the physical labor that might be difficult with." He gestured to her wheelchair. "But you're the boss. Your recipes, your vision, your dream." Arya opened the folder, seeing contracts, resumes, plans. This wasn't some fantasy. This was real. Thought out. Planned for her success. "Why?" she whispered. "Because that day in this bakery, a man made you feel small. Made you cry on your birthday." Dante's voice was rough with emotion. "And I want this place to be where your dream starts instead of where your dignity ended. I want you to walk in here, every day, and remember that you're extraordinary." She wheeled to him, taking his hand. "This is too much. It's not enough. It'll never be enough for what you've given me." "What have I given you?" "Hope." He pulled her up gently, and she stood with his support, her legs shaky but holding. His arms wrapped around her waist. "You gave me hope that monsters can become men again. That love exists outside of transactions and violence. That maybe, just maybe, I deserve something good in this life." Arya cupped his face, this dangerous man who'd become her everything. "You do deserve it. We both do. Then say yes. Open this bakery. Build your dream. Let me be part of something beautiful for once. On one condition. Anything. You promise to keep working on getting out." Really out. Her eyes held his. "I can handle the danger for now, but I want a future, Dante. With you. A real 1-inch. I promise." He kissed her forehead. "It won't be fast. Some bridges have to be burned carefully. But I'm done with that life. I want mornings drinking coffee with you. I want to taste your recipes. I want to grow old arguing about whether chocolate cake is better than vanilla. It's chocolate. Obviously. He laughed, the sound genuine and free.
See?
This is what I want.
This.
Every day. Arya kissed him, soft and sweet, in the bakery where they'd first met, where her humiliation had turned into something miraculous. When they broke apart, she looked around the space, her space, and imagined it filled with customers, laughter, the smell of fresh bread. I'll call it second chances, she said quietly. Perfect. Dante's smile was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Because that's what we're both getting. 2 months later, Second Chance's Bakery opened its doors. Arya's cinnamon rolls became legendary. Mrs. Chin came every morning for free coffee. Arya's rule, not negotiable. Maria quit the cafe to become Arya's assistant manager. The neighborhood embraced the warm space where everyone was welcome, everyone was seen. And every morning at 7, Dante walked in, no bodyguards, no weapons, just a man in love, and ordered whatever she recommended. They'd sit by the window, sharing pastries and coffee, talking about everything and nothing. Sometimes his phone would ring with business he was still untangling himself from. Sometimes Arya's hands would shake remembering the festival attack. But they were building something. Slowly, carefully, together. From blood and shadows, from fear and loneliness, they'd found each other. And in a small bakery in the heart of the city, 2 broken people proved that love could be the most powerful force of all. Not because it erased the past, but because it dared to believe in a better future.